Let's go. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Hello, hello. I sure hope you heard that. I didn't check it. Rookie streamer here, you know? Did it sound good? Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's June 28th. My name is Deanna, and I am streaming out of Humboldt County, about Humboldt County, to Humboldt County, and anyone else who cares. Look at all these people who care. These smart, intelligent people that want to know what's going on. Alrighty, well, I'm all pumped up. I'm super excited about this study. I've got all the answers already. I've read it about twice now, so Dee is stepping up her game, you guys. This is serious. So I feel so good about doing this study, and I feel even better when I am prepared. Okay, good. 5 by 5. Yay. Yay. Wasn't that great? This is all about the 9th principle, which I often forget to share, how our Constitution is 28 principles of liberty that they basically hashed out. And I'm going to put this on the website and keep this up. I did snap a picture of it. So we're on the 9th principle today, which is to protect man's rights. God has revealed certain principles of divine law. Now, you know this is totally exciting to me, right? God and the law. Woo! Now we're getting somewhere, guys. Now we're getting somewhere. Ancient principles, ancestors, wisdom, all those things. Whoops, wrong book. Okay, so today we're actually in the 5,000 year leap. Thank you, Bonnie, for letting me know that it was working. And if you don't have this book, or if you don't have this, your own study, you can follow along, and I'll just share my screen now because we're going to get right into it. Only on a 3-minute intro today. And I even played a song, so how about that? See, isn't it better when you don't have an intro because you just never know what it's going to be? That's what I think anyway. Okay, so let's go to, if you cannot get your own, kit, which you, of course, I recommend you get from the National Center for Constitutional Studies. You can find those on either, close, everything should not be what it was. Oh my gosh, okay. Let me get back to my screen. I did upload this today for sure. I did all the work. It's all done. Oh good, here's one that's all blowed up big. We'll go there. Of course I can't get to my tabs. Let's see. Alright, let me try that again. Good to see you all. Astawa, Bonnie, Benjamin, Carl, Diana, Echo. It's great to see you all. All right. This is a little too big because I can't get to, I can't get to the page I need, can I? Oh, yes, I can. Oh, yes, I win. All right, let's share this page. Here's the big page. We are on, look at that. You know, I don't know why I don't think of things sometimes. Got both of them in this time. Number 1. We're in, by the way, if you didn't notice, it said in the title and description, we are a third of the way through. There are 31 sessions. We're on session 10, which will take us all week to get through. So here we go. We're reading in the 5,000-year leap, the 9th principle, the role of the revealed law. And so I thought I would just read through it. What is it? It was a couple pages here. I read through it all. It's such a short read with this book. These pages are super big, but I want to read the questions first and then read it. I just feel like that helps stimulate our brain to know what to look for. Don't you? It's almost like multiple choice, you know? It's like, you know the answer's in there. You know it's one of them. Boy, I love me some multiple choice. But man, they would trip us up sometimes, wouldn't they? They'd be like, they've had some real, you know, brain twister people working on that stuff. Just like, I know, we'll get as close as we can to the truth, but then I feel like they were also doing studies on us to see, you know, how much do they gotta go? How far can we go with this truth thing here? These multiple choice questions. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah, whoever thought of that? You are a genius. All right, session 10. So, session 10, question 1 is, what is necessary in order for an unalienable right to be enforceable? Question 2, how do unalienable duties relate to unalienable rights in both public and private areas? Give some examples. Question 3, describe God's law of criminal justice. 4, tell how God's law was considered for many centuries to be the supreme law. I know, you know, I'm sorry, we're on 2 YouTube channels, so wherever you guys are, declare yourselves. I suggest where you go, and you rebels don't listen to me, so I've given up. You guys, you know, I'm on 4 channels here. You do know we're on Twitch, Rumble, 2 YouTube channels, and Facebook, and I may upload it to BitChute, but that's not working out real well so far, so I figure, you know what? If you want to catch all of these, just go to Rumble. They're always on. They're always on Rumble. Okay, so let's go to question 1. Oh, did I read them all? Yeah. Now we're gonna read. Okay, now we're gonna read. Now that you know the questions, and then I'll give the answers after the reading. How about that? Let's try it this way. Okay? Why not? Why not? This is an easy read. This is a great read. I don't really want to skip any of this. By the way, shout out to Nora if you're still with us, babe. I miss you, and I've been thinking about you, and I know she listens. She's got a lot going on in her life right now, and also a good group with her Telegram people that she's really close to, but I miss you, girl. Okay. 9th principle, to protect man's rights, God has revealed certain principles of divine law. Rights, though endowed by God as unalienable prerogatives, could not remain unalienable unless they were protected as enforceable rights under a code of divinely proclaimed law. William Blackstone pointed out that the Creator is not only omnipotent, all-powerful, but, this is his quote, he is also a being of infinite wisdom. He has laid down only such laws as were founded in those relations of justice that existed in the nature of things. These are the eternal, immutable laws of good and evil to which the Creator himself in all his dispensations conforms, and which he has enabled human reason to discover, so far as they are necessary for the conduct of human actions. Such, among others, are these principles: that we should live honestly, should hurt nobody, and should render to everybody his due. Sound principles of law are based on God's law. They're all based on God's law. Blackstone said it was necessary for God to disclose these laws to man by direct revelation. The doctrines thus delivered we call the revealed or divine law, and they are to be found only in the Holy Scriptures. These precepts, when revealed, are found upon comparison to be really a part of the original law of nature, as they tend in all their consequence to man's felicity. And I looked that word up for us, and it's basically like all happiness. The definitions are great, though. Great happiness, blissfulness, joy of heaven. Okay. As analysis of the essential elements of God's code of divine law reveals that it is designed to promote, preserve, and protect man's unalienable rights. This divine pattern of law for human happiness requires a recognition of God's supremacy over all things, that man is specifically forbidden to attribute God's power to false gods, that the name of God is to be held in reverence, and every oath taken in the name of God is to be carried out with the utmost fidelity. Fidelity, faithfulness, careful and exact observance of duty. Otherwise, the name of God would be taken in vain. That there is also a requirement that one day each week be set aside for the study of God's law, that it is also to be a day of worship and the personal renewing of one's commitment to obey God's law for happy living, that there are also requirements to strengthen family ties by children honoring parents and parents maintaining the sanctity of their marriage and not committing adultery after marriage, that human life is also to be kept sacred, that he who willfully and wantonly takes the life of another must forfeit his own, that a person shall not lie, that a person shall not steal, that every person must be willing to work for the things he desires from life and not to covet and scheme to get the things which belongs to his neighbor. These principles will be immediately recognized as the famous Ten Commandments. There are many additional laws set forth in the Bible which clarify and define these principles. Divine law endows mankind with unalienable duties as well as unalienable rights. In recent years, the universal emphasis on rights has seriously obscured the unalienable duties which are imposed upon mankind by divine law. As Thomas Jefferson said, man has no natural right in opposition to his social duties. Oh, I don't do politics. I don't want to hear about politics. There are two kinds of duties, public and private. Public duties relate to public morality and are usually supported by local or state ordinances, which can be enforced by the police power of the state. Private duties are those which exist between the individual and his creator. These are called principles of private morality. The only enforcement agency is the self-discipline of the individual himself. William Blackstone was referring to public and private morality when he said, "Let a man therefore be ever so abandoned in his principles or vicious in his practice, provided he keeps his wickedness to himself and does not offend against the rules of public decency. He is out of the reach of human laws. But if he makes his vices public, though they be such as seem principally to affect himself, as drunkenness or the like, then they become by the bad example they set of pernicious, destructive, with intent to kill, mischievous effects to society, and therefore it is then the business of human laws to correct them. Public sobriety is a relative duty, relative to other people, and therefore enjoyed by our laws. Private sobriety is an absolute duty, which whether it be performed or not, human tribunals can never know, and therefore they can never enforce it by any civil sanction. In a sense, we could say that our unalienable duties, both public and private, are an inherent part of natural law. I just want to make sure I'm sharing. Yeah, okay. They constitute a responsibility imposed on each individual to respect the absolute rights or unalienable rights of others. Here are the examples of public and private duties that the Creator has imposed on every human being of normal mental capacity. Oh, that's great, guys. That's we could do so much with that there. 1, the duty to honor the supremacy of the Creator and his laws. As Blackstone states, the Creator's law is the supreme law of the world. This law of nature being no, I'm not saying that right. Coeval with mankind and dictated by God himself is, of course, superior in obligation to any other. It is binding over all the globe in all countries and at all times. No human laws are of any validity if contrary to this. And that goes back to the Magna Carta 1215, which I looked up today. And 2, the duty not to take the life of another except in self-defense. 3, the duty not to steal or destroy the property of another. 4, the duty to be honest in all transactions with others. 5, the duty of children to honor and obey their parents and elders. 6, the duty of parents and elders to protect, teach, feed, clothe, and provide shelter for children. 7, the duty to support law and order and keep the peace. 8, the duty not to contrive through a covetous heart to despoil another. 9, the duty to provide insofar as possible for the needs of the helpless, the sick, the crippled, the injured, the poverty-stricken. 10, the duty to honorably perform contracts and covenants both with God and man. 11, the duty to be temperate. 12, the duty to become economically self-sufficient. 13, the duty not to trespass on the property or privacy of another. 14, the duty to maintain the integrity of the family structure. 15, the duty to perpetuate the race. 16, the duty not to promote or participate in the vices which destroy personal and community life. 17, the duty to perform civic responsibilities, vote, assist public officials, serve in official capacities when called upon, stay informed on public issues, volunteer where needed. 18, the duty not to aid or abet those involved in criminal or antisocial activities. 19, the duty to support personal and public standards of common decency. 20, the duty to follow the rules of moral rectitude. The Creator's superior law of criminal justice. The Creator revealed a divine law of criminal justice which is far superior to any kind being generally followed in the world today. This is a most important element of God's revealed law, and let us therefore emphasize it again, even though we discussed it earlier. Excuse me. Not much more to this study, really. It will be recalled that God's revealed law provided true justice by requiring the criminal to completely restore the property he had stolen or to otherwise pay the damages for losses he had caused. It was the law of reparation, repairing the damage. In addition, the criminal had to pay his victim punitive damages for all the trouble he had caused. This was also to remind him not to do it again. This system of justice through reparation was practiced by the ancient Israelites and also the Anglo-Saxons. In recent years, a number of states have begun to adopt the reparation system. This requires the judge to call in the victim and consult with him or her before passing a sentence. This discussion includes the possibility of the criminal's working to pay back the damages he caused his victim. If the criminal is too irresponsible to be trusted to get a job and repay his victim, then, he is given a heavy prison term with the provision that he cannot be considered for parole until he will guarantee full cooperation in repayment to his victim. The state of Utah recently adopted such a law. Judges are required to have offenders indemnify their victims for damages wherever possible. A copy of this law may be obtained by the Secretary of State, Utah Capitol Building. Excuse me. Should taxpayers compensate victims of crimes? In some states, the victims of criminal activities may apply to the states for damages. The most unfortunate policy is a counterproductive procedure which encourages crime rather than deters it. It encourages a bandit to say to his victim, "Don't worry, mister, you'll get it all back from the state." Now, we must respond to one final question concerning God's revealed laws of true justice. What if a law is passed by Congress or some legislature which is contrary to God's law? What then? God's law, the supreme law of the land. Among the Anglo-Saxons and the ancient Israelites, the law enunciated by God was looked upon as sacred and not subject to change by human legislative bodies. In his authoritative text entitled English, Constitutional, and Legal History, Colin Rise Lovell of the University of Southern California writes this concerning the Anglo-Saxons. That's just how I read sometimes, I'm sorry. To most Anglo-Saxons, the law was either divinely inspired or the work of their ancestors, being of such antiquity that it was unthinkable that it should be changed. Alfred the Great was one of the few rulers of the period who issued new laws, but he too regarded the body of traditional Anglo-Saxon law as sacred and God-given. Dr. Lovell explains the attitude of the Anglo-Saxon race toward their divine code of law. He says they considered it immutable, italics in the original. Even the all-powerful tribal assembly had no legislative power, and this theory of legislative impotence endured for a long time in the development of the English Constitution and disappeared only very gradually. Even many centuries later, the fiction that specific legislation was not making new law but reinforcing ancient customs was preserved. Most of the great steps forward in the development of the English Constitution have been taken with loud assertions that nothing new was being contemplated, only the old was being restored. What's old is new again. Louis, I miss you, brother. Natural law constitutes eternal principles. Even when it was finally acknowledged that Parliament was writing new statutes and dealing with problems not mentioned in the law of ancient times, it was still required that none of the new laws contradict the provisions of divine law. John Locke set forth the principle which carried over into the thinking of the American founders when he wrote, "The law of nature stands as an eternal rule to all men, legislators as well as others. The rules that they make for man's actions must be conformable, to the law of nature, to the will of God." Sir William Blackstone, contemporary of the founders, wrote, "Man, considered as a creature, must necessarily be subject to the laws of his creator. This will of his maker is called the law of nature. This law of nature, being coeval with mankind and dictated by God himself, is of course superior in obligation to any other. It is binding over all the globe in all countries and at all times. No human laws are of any validity if contrary to this. But who will decide? When it comes to lawmaking, the nations of the most of the world throughout history have been subject to the whims and arbitrary despotism of kings, emperors, rulers, and magistrates. How can the people be protected from the autocratic authority of their rulers? Where does the source of sovereign authority lie?" The founders had strong convictions on this point. And that is going to get into the Principle 10, which is the God-given right to govern invested in the sovereign authority of the whole people. The whole people. People, keep on. You know the one. You know the thing. Hustling. I'm going to have to listen to some Stevie Wonder today. Man, nothing will pump you up like some Stevie Wonder. Living in the city. Yeah, I used to love that album. I used to listen to that all the time. Yeah, man. You just don't get it if you're not a Gen Xer, I guess, you know. You just don't get it. You don't get it, man. All right, that is it for the reading. And so now let's just answer the questions really quickly because I've got it written down. Just a recap here. And actually, let me share this again. Let's go. Where? Okay, up here. What is necessary in order for an unalienable right to be enforceable? Say that 3 times. Necessary, unalienable, enforceable. Sure. Blackstone wrote, necessary for God to disclose these laws by direct revelations. Revelation. God's law is a code. God's law is designed to promote, preserve, and protect. It's a code of divine. What did I write here? Law is code of divine. It requires a recognition. Oh, my notes are so screwed up. Man's unalienable rights. This divine happiness requires a recognition of God's supremacy in all things. Yeah, God's law is code of the divine. And to be really happy, you have to acknowledge God's supremacy. This is that man is specifically forbidden to God's power to attribute and give God's power credit to false gods, that God's name is to be held in reverence, and that every oath taken is of utmost fidelity, and otherwise, or God's name is in vain. 2. How do unalienable duties relate to unalienable rights in both public and private arenas? Give some examples. Jefferson. Man has no natural right to oppose his duty. That's a paraphrase. Actually, I was going to read out of this because we did read the whole thing, but I was just going to read this answer because I started it was so much. He has no right to oppose his duty. You just don't. You just don't. Because the Creator has imposed it on every human being of normal mental capacity, you guys. That's us. That's us. Yay. Yay. It's binding all over the globe in all countries at all times. No human laws are of any validity contrary to God's laws. What it's trying to show us here is we also have duties. We don't just, it's not about just our rights here. You see, we have duties. Oh, we're doing public and private. Oh no, I'm on the other question. I'm sorry. Okay. Because the rest of this was so good. What is necessary for an inalienable right to be enforceable? It talks about strengthening. Remember, we're talking about strengthening the family ties, children honoring their parents, maintaining the sanctity of marriage. These things are sacred. Okay, now we'll go on to 2. How do unalienable duties relate to unalienable rights in both public and private arenas? Give some examples. Oh, I was on that one. I'm sorry, you guys. I got all tripped up here. Jefferson. No natural right to oppose your duty. Oh, yeah, we're going to all those examples. I am so sorry. The only enforcement agency is the self-discipline of the individual himself. Of course, the drinking is the one example that he really uses in here. Where's my answer here? Your public is for your public morality. Your private exists between yourself and your Creator. Drinking in public and private, we read that example. I'm not going to reread that whole thing, but that was the example that was given. Because if he makes his vices public, though they be such as seem principally to affect himself, as drunkenness or the like, then they become the bad example they set. And it becomes the business of the human laws to correct them. That's us. 3. Describe God's laws of criminal justice. True justice requires a criminal to completely restore the stolen property and pay damages. This is what true reparation is. Repairing the damage. 4. Tell how God's law was considered for many centuries to be the supreme law. Utah adopted reparations just recently, right? In our lifetime. Anyways. what does it say? Recently. Of course, this is when, I don't know when this book was last copyright. We checked the other one yesterday. It was 2009. This one's 2013. So, that's relative. The Anglo-Saxons said it was unthinkable to change the ancient principles and laws because they were either divinely inspired by God or they were simply their ancestors' wisdom. In either case, they didn't want to get rid of them and dissolve them. Even Alfred the Great said that. Law is sacred and God-given. A lot of people did not mess around with it. They just didn't. The law enunciated by God was looked upon as sacred and not subject to change by human legislative bodies. That is really the point of this principle, I believe. And even with the last lesson, we got those quotes from Madison and Blackstone about God and the law. The laws of nature stands as an eternal rule to all men, legislatures as well as others. The rules that they make for man's actions must be conformable to the law of nature, to the will of God. They cannot be contrary, cannot be contradicting. None of the new laws can contradict the provisions of the divine law. You think you got some new, better thing than they had? I mean, really, it's just so arrogant, isn't it? You guys, I haven't been asking you if you have any questions or anything. I don't really want to get chat going on these lessons for the sake of people that are listening, and more people are listening and following this later than are here live. Oh, well, it's about time you showed up. Where you been, buddy? Yeah. Good to see you, Eric. They didn't want the Native American educated. They were treated poorly. Just history leaves some half-truths. For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah, they still are treated horribly to this day, of course. No, it's just true. Don't be sorry. I brought that up when I served my first affidavit. Are you kidding me? They sat here and went through another round of, remember smallpox and blankets and stuff, And they did that here in our community. Hoopah, they targeted the minority groups big time here. And I sure let them know. They give that token proclamation in the beginning of their council meetings. What a joke. They're such a joke, and they know they're a joke. They stand there and pledge allegiance. They won't say under God. They have no morals. These people are immorals. And our type of government is it can only survive with moral people in those positions. And you have people pronouncing and promoting evil. It's time for them to go. It's time for us to deal with them based on the laws. They're outwardly and openly. I've got a paper I'll be sharing later that I got from the last Republic meeting I went to, which is about those who are working against the United States of America openly. That I'll have to find that. I'm going to upload that on one of the pages that I have on one of my one of the websites. Also, I've got I've got so much stuff going. Oh yeah, it's conspiracy to defraud the United States. Okay, we're gonna need to get this up on there because these are what these people are. Title 18 is that or no 923? I don't know how to read that section. 18 UC, that's United States Code, right? 371 certifies. If two or more persons conspire either to commit any offense against the United States or to defraud the United States against any agency thereof in any manner for any purpose, they are conspiracists. And that is what we will tie them all together with here in each of these governing bodies that are frauds. They don't have a proper oath. We have the affidavits. They've already been filled out. I forgot I filled one out for the planning commissioners. They're what's coming next. These need to be all done for everybody that is serving public servant that is doing anything against our laws. and they're telling you, oh, the state's telling us we got to do this, we got to do that. We'll go tell them what they got to do. This Governor Newsom, who hasn't met with a single sheriff in the last 5 years, and who has treated California, ran it into the ground. Any of you still listening to that person and to those rules is a traitor. Period. Straight up. You're defrauding the United States. Stop it. This is our country. A house divided cannot stand. You are tearing your own country apart. You have to get on the same page. You have to get on the page of the law. Our common law is the law of the land. We are a de jure. We are not the de facto. Learn the difference. Get involved. Our future, our kids need us to. They can't defend themselves. They're pretty defenseless right now. And they have certainly suffered a lot of abuse in the last 3 years. And they're going to grow up and they're going to look back at all the adults and they're going to wonder, what were you doing? God bless America. How about America bless God? How about America be the hands and feet and put on your courage? God does more with less. I have a little paragraph of stuff that I wanted to say. I was going to do it when I started. Patriots, stop tearing each other down. Stop having expectations on people. This is our job. We must know our laws so that we can oblige others to know them and hold them accountable. If you are very brave, you will have your freedom. You will have your freedoms. You may be persecuted at times, but if you know what is lawful, you stand a way better fighting chance. If you're going to fight anyway, have the tools. The ancient principles, the scriptures, the law, they teach us the nature of God. He does more with less. God is neither male nor female. Don't get hung up on all this stuff. God is spirit. God came in the flesh in Jesus. That's why people call God he. But man, there's so many things people get so tripped up on, and it's such a shame that we're not studying the ancient principles. We're not studying, more of the past and how people and cultures existed. How did they get along? There's always been people that are different. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. But we have the privilege of self-governing. Let's do that. I want to do that. I'm doing that. I can never go back. Better to have never known the truth than when you know it. You're not going to forget it. You're going to try to ignore it. That's where some mental illness is going to come in. People not working and having no purpose and not making money so they can eat and be part of productive member of society. That's where depression will originate. The best cure that I know of is to work harder, work more, work smarter, maybe not harder, but work more. There's 24 hours in a day, you guys. Work is great. Work helped me a lot. Helped me to get out of my head and to be serving and to have the right attitude. For our country needs that right now. We need to get back to work, people. I've been working on the railroad. Oh my gosh, you guys. It is a duty to uphold the law of the Lord. Amen. Amen. I'm out. I'll see y'all later. I don't know when. Yeah, I don't know about that, Benjamin. I don't know. I hope so. I pray God delivers us from this country. I pray God keeps you all safe and healthy. Help your family. Be brave. Be brave, Daniel-san. In Jesus' name. Amen. Love y'all. See you later.